The auction house smelled like rust and broken dreams. Rick Chen wiped grease from his hands with an old rag as he studied the holographic display showing lot number 47. The image rotated slowly, revealing a squat building with alien architecture nestled between two human-owned repair shops in New Denver's industrial district. Beth Williams nudged him with her elbow. "You sure about this? 50,000 credits is everything we saved." Carlos Santos scratched his beard and pointed at the specifications. "Look at those power readings, though. Whatever alien tech is still running in there, it's drawing serious juice. That means the systems are intact." Nina Petrov adjusted her glasses and pulled up her datapad. "I ran background checks on the previous owner. Master Holt operated that workshop for 30 years before he vanished. Never had a single unsatisfied customer." The auctioneer, a thin man with a voice like grinding gears, called for attention. "Lot 47, the former Holt Restoration Workshop. Minimum bid starts at 20,000 credits. Do I hear 20? Rick raised his hand. Around them, other bidders showed little interest. Most were scrap dealers looking for quick profits from salvageable equipment. 25, called a woman in expensive clothes near the front. 30, Rick countered immediately. Beth grabbed his arm. "Rick, we agreed on 40 maximum." "Trust me," he whispered back. The expensive woman shook her head when the bid reached 35,000. Rick held his breath as the auctioneer scanned the room. Going once, going twice. The gavel fell. Sold to bidder 93 for 35,000 credits. Carlos let out a whoop that echoed through the auction house. Other bidders turned to stare at the four humans celebrating like they had won the lottery, instead of buying what most considered a worthless alien building. 2 hours later, they stood before their new property with the deed in Rick's trembling hands. The workshop looked even stranger up close. Smooth walls curved in impossible angles, and the entrance was a perfect oval that adjusted its size automatically as they approached. "The whole place gives me the creeps," Nina muttered, running her scanner along the wall. "Energy readings are off the charts, but I can't identify the source." Beth pressed her palm against a glowing panel beside the entrance. The oval doorway shimmered and became transparent. "Biometric scanner just accepted my handprint. That's weird for an alien system." They stepped inside and gasped. The main floor stretched larger than the building's exterior suggested. Workbenches lined the walls, each equipped with tools they had never seen before. Mechanical arms hung from the ceiling, frozen in positions that suggested they had been working when suddenly stopped. Carlos ran his hand along a workbench surface that felt warm to the touch. "This metal adapts to whatever you place on it. Watch." He set down his wrench, and the surface molded perfectly around it, holding the tool securely. "The power systems are still active," Beth called from across the room. She stood before a control panel covered in softly glowing symbols. "Everything is running on standby mode like it's waiting for someone to return." Nina pulled up building schematics on her pad. "According to city records, this structure only has one level, but my scans show at least 3 more floors below us." Rick examined a series of photographs mounted on one wall. They showed Master Holt working on various spacecraft, each image capturing him alongside different alien species. In every photo, the tall, gray-skinned alien wore the same patient expression. "Look at this," Carlos called from a corner workshop. He stood beside a partially disassembled engine that hummed with contained energy. "This is a quantum drive core. I've only seen these in textbooks. They stopped making them 200 years ago." Beth joined him, her eyes wide. "If this thing still works, it's worth more than we paid for the entire building." A soft chime echoed through the workshop, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the room. Alien text scrolled across the projection, then shifted to human standard script. "Welcome, new owners. I am Guide, the workshop management system. Master Holt programmed me to assist his successor. Are you here to continue his work?" The 4 humans exchanged glances. Rick stepped forward. "We're mechanics. We bought this place to start our own repair business." "Excellent." Master Holt hoped his workshop would pass to skilled craftsmen. "However, I must inform you that this facility contains materials requiring special handling. Access to certain areas remains restricted until proper authorization is obtained." Nina approached the hologram. What kind of materials? I'm not authorized to specify. Master Holt left detailed instructions for his successor, but accessing them requires completing security protocols he designed. Carlos laughed. Security protocols? We own the place now. Ownership of property does not override safety measures designed to protect both the materials and surrounding area, Guide replied with what sounded like mechanical patience. Master Holt was most insistent about this requirement. Beth studied the hologram's interface. How do we complete these protocols? You must demonstrate competency in 3 areas: mechanical aptitude, ethical judgment, and collaborative problem-solving. Master Holt believed these qualities essential for accessing his complete workshop. Rick felt a chill run down his spine. Complete workshop? This isn't everything. The main workshop contains approximately 12% of Master Holt's total equipment and projects. The remainder awaits proper clearance. Nina's scanner started beeping frantically. The energy readings just spiked. Whatever is down there, it's massive. Carlos examined the floor carefully and found subtle seams forming geometric patterns. These aren't decorative, they're access panels. The whole floor can probably reconfigure itself. We need to be careful, Rick warned. If there's something valuable down there, we can't afford to damage it. Our entire future depends on making this workshop profitable. Beth nodded toward the quantum engine. Just this one component could set us up for life if we restore it properly. Imagine what else might be waiting. Guide's projection shifted to display a series of simple mechanical puzzles. If you wish to begin the qualification process, I can start with basic mechanical aptitude testing. Master Holt designed these challenges, specifically for the species most likely to inherit his workshop. Which species did he expect? Nina asked. Humans, of course. Master Holt studied your people extensively. He believed you possessed the most suitable combination of curiosity, adaptability, and resourcefulness for preserving his life's work. Carlos grinned and cracked his knuckles. Then let's show this AI what human mechanics can do. Rick looked around at his 3 partners, then back at Guide's waiting hologram. They had saved for years to buy their own shop. Now they owned something. That might be far more than they had bargained for. All right, Guide, we accept your challenge. The workshop hummed to life around them and their real adventure began. 3 weeks of puzzle solving and mechanical challenges had pushed all 4 humans to their limits. Nina rubbed her eyes as she studied the final security interface, a complex quantum lock that had defeated her previous 16 attempts to crack it. The pattern keeps changing every time I get close, she muttered, adjusting her approach for the 17th time. It's like the system is learning from my mistakes. Carlos looked up from the workbench where he had successfully rebuilt an alien transmission system using nothing but basic human tools and stubborn determination. Maybe that's exactly what it's doing. Master Holt designed these tests for humans, right? He probably expected us to think differently than other species. Beth wiped sweat from her forehead. She had just completed a piloting simulation that required flying 3 different alien spacecraft designs simultaneously while avoiding asteroid fields. Guide said we needed to show collaborative problem solving. Maybe we're supposed to work on this lock together instead of taking turns. Rick nodded from across the room where he had spent the morning solving ethical dilemmas involving resource allocation during space emergencies. Everything else has been about teamwork. Why should this be different? Nina stepped back from the quantum lock interface. Okay, but I can't figure out how 4 people can work on something designed for 1 operator. Guide's holographic form materialized beside them. If I may suggest, Master Holt often said that human ingenuity came from seeing problems from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Carlos scratched his beard thoughtfully. Multiple perspectives. Nina, what if you're not supposed to solve the lock? What if you're supposed to understand it? I don't follow. Beth joined them at the interface. The patterns change because the lock is responding to us. Carlos, you understand mechanical systems. Rick knows about decision-making under pressure. I can read flight patterns and navigation systems. Rick caught on immediately. And Nina understands electronic interfaces better than anyone. We each read a different part of the pattern. Working together, they position themselves around the quantum lock interface. Nina called out the electronic signatures, Carlos identified the mechanical components engaging and disengaging. Beth tracked the spatial relationships between elements, and Rick analyzed the logical decision trees governing the sequence. There, Nina said as the final symbol aligned. It's not a lock at all. It's a teaching tool. Master Holt wanted his successor to learn how to combine different types of thinking. The interface dissolved and the floor beneath their feet became transparent. Below them, a vast underground chamber stretched farther than their flashlights could reach. 12 spacecraft of completely different designs sat in perfect rows, each one gleaming as if it had been built yesterday. Holy stars, Beth whispered. Guide appeared beside them again. Welcome to Master Holt's private collection. Please follow the safety protocols as you descend. A spiral ramp materialized, leading down to the hangar floor. Their footsteps echoed in the enormous space as they approached the first spacecraft. Carlos ran his hand along the hull of what looked like a massive warship, covered in intricate armor plating. This is Valorian design. I've seen pictures in history books. They stopped building ships like this 300 years ago. Nina checked her scanner and nearly dropped it. The power readings from this thing alone could supply New Denver colony for a month, and it's just one of 12. Beth moved to examine a sleek silver craft with curved wings that seemed to shift color in the light. This one looks fast. Really fast. The hull design is optimized for atmospheric flight, but those are definitely space-capable engines. Rick found himself standing before an elegant ship with crystalline panels set into organic-looking curves. I've never seen anything like this one. It's beautiful. Guide projected a holographic display beside each ship showing detailed specifications. Master Holt acquired these vessels over 40 years of collecting. Each represents a unique achievement in spacecraft design. Several are the only remaining examples of their type. Carlos read the display beside the warship and his eyes widened. This says this ship is worth 200 billion credits. 200 billion. That's conservative, Guide replied. Valorian dreadnoughts of this configuration are considered priceless by most collectors. Only 3 were ever built, and the other 2 were destroyed in the Valorian Civil War. Nina moved from ship to ship, her scanner beeping constantly. The total value, I can't even calculate it. We're looking at more money than some planets generate in a year. Beth climbed onto the wing of the Silver Racer and peered through its cockpit window. They're all in perfect condition. How's that possible after sitting here for 20 years? Master Holt designed advanced preservation systems for the hangar, Guide explained. Time flow is slightly slowed in this chamber. To the ships. Only 6 months have passed since his disappearance. Rick walked slowly around a vessel that appeared to be grown rather than built, its hull resembling bark or coral. Guide, why did Master Holt collect these? What was his purpose? Master Holt believed that certain achievements in spacecraft design represented irreplaceable cultural heritage. When civilizations fell or technologies were abandoned, he preserved examples for future generations to study and learn from. Carlos pointed to a ship with multiple hull segments connected by energy fields. Some of these designs are incredible. If we could understand how they work, we could revolutionize space travel. That was Master Holt's secondary goal, Guide confirmed. He hoped that his successor would not simply preserve the collection, but learn from it and share that knowledge appropriately. Nina noticed something odd about the ship's registration displays. Guide, according to these readouts, half of these ships are listed as stolen or lost in various galactic databases. Master Holt often acquired vessels that were abandoned, forgotten, or scheduled for destruction. Legal ownership can be complex when dealing with extinct civilizations and collapsed governments. Beth climbed down from the Silver Racer, her expression troubled. So we might not legally own any of this. Ownership laws vary significantly between different galactic jurisdictions, Guide replied carefully. Master Holt left detailed documentation regarding the provenance of each vessel. However, he advised that discretion would be essential for his successor. Rick felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. We're not just mechanics who got lucky, are we? We're inheriting something much bigger. Carlos nodded grimly. The question is, what do we do with it? Nina's scanner detected something else, and she followed the signal to the far end of the hangar. There, partially hidden behind the larger vessel, sat a workstation covered with detailed plans and technical diagrams. Master Holt was working on something when he disappeared, she called to the others. These are design specifications for modifications to several of the ships. Beth joined her and studied the plans. He was trying to integrate systems from different ships. Look, he wanted to combine the Valorian weapons array with the racing ship's speed capabilities. Guide's projection appeared beside the workstation. Master Holt called it the Integration Project. He believed that combining the best features from different civilizations could create unprecedented technological advances. Rick picked up a handwritten note from the workstation. In careful script, Master Holt had written, "The key to preservation is not simply maintaining the past, but helping it grow into the future. My successor must understand this principle above all others." Carlos looked around the vast hangar with its incredible collection of priceless spacecraft. "We bought a repair shop and found a treasure that could change the galaxy. Now what?" Their simple dream of running their own business had just become infinitely more complicated. The emergency alert on Nina's communication device shattered the peaceful morning in their workshop. She read the message twice before calling the others. "We have a problem. The Colonial Authority detected unusual energy signatures from our building. They're sending Inspector Davis Walsh to investigate." Rick dropped his welding torch and pushed up his safety visor. "How unusual are we talking about?" "According to this report, our building is generating more power than a small city. They want to know where it's coming from and why we didn't report it." Beth looked up from the alien control system she had been studying. "Can we shut down the hangar?" Guide's hologram appeared instantly. Powering down the preservation systems would risk permanent damage to several vessels. Master Holt designed the systems to run continuously. Carlos wiped his hands on his coveralls. "How long before this inspector arrives?" 6 hours, Nina replied, scrolling through more messages. "But that's not our only problem. I'm picking up encrypted communications traffic around New Denver. Someone else is very interested in energy signatures matching ours." Rick felt his military instincts kicking in. During his service years, he had learned to recognize when multiple threats were converging. "Show me those communication patterns." Nina projected her findings holographically. Streams of data revealed at least 3 different groups conducting surveillance around their location. "The government inspector is official business," she explained. "But these other 2 groups are using frequencies associated with criminal organizations and private collectors." Beth stood up from her workstation. "Private collectors?" Guide answered before Nina could respond. Master Holt mentioned that certain individuals and organizations had spent decades searching for his collection. If word has leaked about the discovery, they will act quickly. Carlos climbed down from the Valorian warship where he had been studying the weapon systems. "Act quickly how? Are we talking about theft or something more serious?" "The Hegemony Syndicate specializes in acquiring rare artifacts through whatever means necessary," Guide replied ominously. "The Collector Guild operates more subtly, but they have resources that rival most governments." Rick made a decision. "We split up. Nina and I handle the legal situation with Inspector Walsh. Beth and Carlos, you 2 work on securing the most valuable ships." "Secure them how?" Beth asked. Master Holt's plan showed that 3 of the smaller ships are fully operational. If things go bad, we need to be able to move them. Nina pulled up building schematics. "There's a secondary exit from the hangar that connects to the old mining tunnels under New Denver. We could potentially move ships through there." Carlos grinned despite the situation. "Underground spacecraft smuggling. I never thought I'd be doing that when I got up this morning." Guide projected a warning display. "I must advise against moving the ships without proper preparation. Several require specific atmospheric conditions to prevent deterioration." Beth had been studying Master Holt's technical notes. "What if we don't move the actual ships?" "These plans show portable cloaking devices that can hide individual vessels. If we can build them, with what?" Rick asked. "We don't have alien manufacturing equipment." Carlos examined the cloaking specifications more carefully. "Actually, we might be able to adapt these designs using human components." Master Holt's notes include conversion formulas for different technological bases. Nina's scanner detected movement outside. 3 vehicles just pulled up. Military markings on one, but the other 2 are unmarked. Inspector Walsh arrived first. A professional woman in colonial authority uniform who seemed genuinely curious rather than hostile. "I'm investigating energy readings that suggest you're operating equipment well beyond standard commercial limits," she explained as Rick led her through the main workshop. "The power consumption data indicates either illegal industrial operations or undeclared alien technology." Rick chose his words carefully. We inherited some advanced equipment from the previous owner. We're still learning how to operate it safely. Inspector Walsh examined the quantum engine that Carlos had been restoring. This is a quantum drive core. These systems are restricted technology requiring special permits. We were planning to contact the proper authorities, Nina interjected. We wanted to understand what we had before making any reports. Meanwhile, Beth and Carlos worked frantically in the hangar below to activate the portable cloaking systems. Using human tools and improvised connections, they managed to adapt 3 of Master Holt's designs. It's working, Beth whispered, as the silver racing ship seemed to fade from view. The cloaking field is holding. Carlos activated the second device around a small exploration vessel. Master Holt was brilliant. These plans account for human engineering limitations. It's like he knew exactly what tools we would have available. Above them, Inspector Walsh was becoming more curious about the building's layout. According to city records, this structure shouldn't have basement levels. But my readings show significant space below us. Rick exchanged a glance with Nina. They needed more time. The previous owner made modifications that weren't properly documented, Nina said. We've been trying to map them ourselves. Inspector Walsh activated her own scanner. I'm reading multiple large metallic objects in the lower levels. What exactly did Master Holt leave down there? Before Rick could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the building. Guide's voice echoed from hidden speakers. Warning: unauthorized personnel are attempting to breach the facility. Security protocols are activating. Through the workshop's windows, they could see figures in dark clothing surrounding the building. The unmarked vehicles had disgorged teams of armed individuals who were setting up equipment. Inspector Walsh immediately drew her sidearm and activated her emergency communicator. This is Walsh. I need immediate backup at the Holt workshop. We have a hostile takeover in progress. Carlos and Beth heard the commotion above and quickly activated the third cloaking device around Master Holt's personal transport. 3 ships were now hidden, but 9 remained visible. We need to get to the surface and help Rick and Nina, Beth said, heading for the ramp. Wait, Carlos called. Look at this. He had found additional controls hidden in Master Holt's workstation. The display showed the building's complete defense systems, far more sophisticated than they had realized. The whole workshop is basically a fortress, he said in amazement. Master Holt built defensive barriers, automated security systems, even electromagnetic pulse generators. Beth studied the controls. Can we activate them? I think so, but I'm not sure what will happen. These systems are designed to repel spacecraft-level attacks. Above them, the first electromagnetic pulse from the attacking forces struck the building. The lights flickered, but the alien systems held steady. Inspector Walsh looked around in amazement as the workshop's defenses activated automatically. What kind of repair shop is this? Rick helped her to cover as energy blasts began striking the reinforced walls. The kind that's worth more than some planets. Apparently, Nina worked frantically at her station, trying to call for additional government backup while simultaneously coordinating with Carlos and Beth below. How long can we hold out? She called to Rick. That depends on what Carlos finds down there, he replied, returning fire through a window, and how long it takes the Colonial Marines to respond to Walsh's call. In the hangar, Carlos activated Master Holt's primary defense system. The entire building shuddered as hidden weapon arrays emerged from concealed positions. Beth, he called over the noise, I think we just turned our repair shop into a battle station. The real fight was about to begin. The battle for the workshop lasted 18 hours. When the smoke cleared, Rick found himself sitting across a negotiation table from 3 very different groups, each claiming legal rights to different parts of Master Holt's collection. Inspector Walsh represented the colonial authorities' position. These ships contain restricted technology that should be in government hands for public safety. Across from her, a woman in expensive robes introduced herself as Collector Vera Stone from the Acquisitions Guild. Several of these vessels were stolen from our clients over the past 4 decades. We have documented proof of ownership. The third representative made Rick's skin crawl. Commander Brass from the Hegemony Syndicate spoke with quiet menace. The Valorian Dreadnought was payment for services rendered to our organization. We have come to collect what belongs to us. Nina sat beside Rick, her datapad displaying legal documents they had spent all night researching. According to Galactic Commerce Code, salvage rights transfer with property ownership when items have been abandoned for more than 10 standard Years. Beth and Carlos had worked through the night preparing 3 of the most valuable ships for emergency departure. The Silver Racer sat fueled and ready in a hidden chamber Carlos had discovered behind the main hangar. 2 other vessels waited in concealed alcoves that Master Holt had carved into the underground rock formations. The problem? Beth whispered to Carlos as they monitored the negotiations from the hangar, is that we're outnumbered and outgunned. Even with the workshop's defenses, we can't fight 3 different organizations forever. Carlos examined Master Holt's personal notes more carefully. Maybe we don't have to fight. Look at this entry from 5 years ago. Beth read over his shoulder. Master Holt had written, "The true test will come when multiple claimants arrive simultaneously. My successor must prove worthy not through combat, but through wisdom that honors the ship's original purpose." Guide materialized beside them. Master Holt anticipated this situation. He prepared a solution, but it requires courage and exceptional piloting skills. What kind of solution? Beth asked. Each ship in the collection has a unique capability that contributed to galactic history. Master Holt believed that demonstrating these capabilities would prove that preservation serves a greater purpose than ownership. Carlos understood immediately. He wants us to fly them. All of them. That is impossible, Guide replied. However, Master Holt did modify 3 vessels specifically for human operation. The Silver Racer you have prepared, the exploration vessel Seeker, and his personal transport Waymaker. Above them, the negotiations were becoming heated. Commander Brass had made it clear that the Hegemony Syndicate would take what they wanted by force if necessary. We have 15 battlecruisers surrounding this colony, he stated coldly. Surrender the Valorian dreadnought and we will allow you to keep the rest. Inspector Walsh activated her emergency protocols. Colonial Authority forces are also en route. This matter will be settled through proper legal channels. Collector Stone smiled coldly. The Acquisitions Guild has documentation predating both your claims. Some of these ships were stolen from civilizations that no longer exist. We serve as their legal inheritors. Rick felt the weight of impossible choices. Giving up the ships meant abandoning Master Holt's vision of preservation and learning. Fighting meant potentially destroying what they were trying to protect. Nina leaned over and whispered, Carlos found something. He thinks Master Holt left us a way out. Rick called for a recess and joined his team in the hangar. Carlos led them to a hidden chamber where 3 spacecraft waited in perfect readiness. Master Holt modified these ships specifically for this moment, Carlos explained. The Silver Racer has speed capabilities that exceed anything currently in service. The exploration vessel has cloaking technology that makes it invisible to most scanning systems, and his personal transport can generate temporary wormholes for short-range teleportation. Beth ran her hands over the racer's controls. You want us to escape? I want us to prove that humans deserve to be Master Holt's successors, Carlos replied. He didn't just collect these ships. He studied them, learned from them, and improved them using techniques that nobody else understood. Guide projected a holographic star map. Master Holt left coordinates for a rendezvous point in neutral space. If you can reach it with all 3 vessels, automated systems there will broadcast his complete legacy to the entire galaxy. Nina studied the coordinates. It's 12 light years away. Even with our fastest ship, that's a 3-day journey. The pursuing forces will catch us long before we reach neutral space, Rick realized. Carlos grinned and pointed to Master Holt's modification notes. Not if we work together. The 3 ships were designed to operate as a coordinated unit. The Racer provides speed and maneuverability. The exploration vessel provides stealth and sensor capabilities. The transport provides tactical mobility through micro-wormhole generation. Beth understood the plan immediately. We leapfrog through space using the transport's wormhole capability, while the exploration vessel scouts ahead, and the Racer provides protection. It's incredibly dangerous, Guide warned. Master Holt never had the opportunity to test the 3-ship coordination system under combat conditions. Rick looked at his 3 partners. They had gone from simple mechanics to fugitives in less than a week. But they had also discovered that they were capable of far more than they had ever imagined. We need a distraction to get past the blockade ships, he said. Nina pulled up the workshop's defensive systems. The building's main power core can be overloaded to create an electromagnetic pulse. It won't cause permanent damage, but it will disable scanning and communication systems for about an hour. Carlos nodded toward the remaining ships in the main hangar. And we activate all the automated systems in the other vessels. They can't fly themselves, but they can power up and create enough sensor noise to mask our real departure. Beth was already climbing into the Silver Racer's cockpit. This is insane. We're about to steal priceless historical artifacts while running from 3 different military forces. We're not stealing them, Rick corrected as he headed for the exploration vessel. We're saving them. Above them, Commander Brass was losing patience with the negotiations. You have 1 hour to produce the Valorian dreadnought. After that, we take it by force. Inspector Walsh checked her chronometer. Colonial Authority reinforcements arrive in 2 hours. I recommend patience. Collector Stone activated a communication device. Guild forces are also in position. Perhaps it is time to end this standoff. In the hangar below, Carlos initiated the countdown for Master Holt's final gambit. The 3 modified ships hummed to life. Their engines synchronized through systems designed by the galaxy's greatest master craftsmen. Remember, Guide's voice echoed through their communication system. Master Holt believed that humans possessed a unique combination of courage, creativity, and stubbornness. Today you must prove him correct. Rick settled into the exploration vessel's pilot seat and felt the ship's advanced systems responding to his thoughts. All ships report ready. Racer ready, Beth confirmed. Transport ready, Carlos replied. Nina activated the workshop's overload sequence. Electromagnetic pulse in 10 seconds. Good luck. The lights went out and their desperate flight began. The chase through hyperspace lasted 6 days instead of 3. Rick's hands shook as he brought the exploration vessel Seeker out of its latest jump, immediately scanning for pursuit ships while Beth and Carlos materialized nearby in their own vessels. Still clear, Beth reported from the Silver Racer, but I'm reading massive energy buildups behind us. They're not giving up. Carlos checked the transport Waymaker's systems. The micro-wormhole generator is overheating. I can give us maybe 2 more jumps before we have to find another solution. They had been playing a deadly game of leapfrog across the galaxy. The transport would open a small wormhole. All 3 ships would jump through together. Then they would fly on conventional drives while the wormhole generator recharged. Each jump bought them a few hours, but their pursuers kept finding their trail. Rick studied the navigation display. We're still 8 light years from the rendezvous coordinates. At this rate, they'll catch us before we reach neutral space. Nina's voice crackled through the communication system from New Denver Colony, where she had remained to coordinate their legal defense. Rick, I've got news. The Collector Guild isn't just chasing you for the ships. I've been digging into their records. They're not preservationists at all. What do you mean? Beth asked. They strip unique vessels for rare components and sell them to private military contractors. If they get Master Holt's collection, they'll destroy it piece by piece. Carlos felt his anger rising. So we're not just running from greedy collectors. We're trying to save galactic history from vandals. Guide's holographic projection appeared in all 3 cockpits simultaneously. There is something you must know about your destination. Master Holt did not simply choose random coordinates for the rendezvous point. Rick was getting tired of surprises. What else did he hide from us? The coordinates marked the location of his greatest achievement. A space station called Heritage Point that houses the complete technical specifications for every major spacecraft design in galactic history. Beth nearly lost control of her racer. He built a space station? Master Holt spent 30 years secretly constructing Heritage Point, using resources from his restoration work. He intended it to serve as a permanent repository of spacefaring knowledge, freely accessible to all species. Carlos understood the implications immediately. That's why everyone is chasing us. If we reach Heritage Point, Master Holt's entire collection of technical data becomes public knowledge. No one can control it anymore. The Collector Guild, the Hegemony Syndicate, and certain government agencies have spent decades trying to locate Heritage Point. Guide continued. Master Holt's ship collection was bait to draw out those who would abuse such knowledge. Rick felt a chill of realization. We're not just his successors. We're his test subjects. He wanted to see if humans would protect knowledge for the greater good or try to profit from it. Nina's voice cut through their communication channel with urgent news. Major fleet movements detected. The 3 factions chasing you have joined forces. They're pooling their resources to stop you from reaching the rendezvous point. Beth checked her tactical display. 47 ships converging on our position, including that Hegemony battlecruiser that's been dogging us since New Denver. Carlos made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Then we don't run anymore. Carlos, we can't fight 47 military vessels, Rick protested. We don't fight them. We outthink them. Carlos pulled up Master Holt's technical specifications for the 3 ships they were flying. These vessels weren't just modified for speed and stealth. They were designed to interface with Heritage Point's defense systems. Guide's projection nodded approvingly. Master Holt hoped his successor would reach this conclusion. The 3 ships you are piloting contain access codes that can activate Heritage Point's protective capabilities. Beth studied the specifications more carefully. What kind of protective capabilities? Heritage Point is not simply a space station. It is a mobile fortress capable of defending itself against entire fleets. However, it requires 3 simultaneous command inputs to activate. Rick felt the weight of responsibility growing heavier. So if we reach Heritage Point, we're not just accessing a database. We're taking control of a weapon. Knowledge is the most powerful weapon in the galaxy, Guide replied. Master Holt understood that certain individuals would kill to control it, while others would die to keep it free. Carlos detected the pursuing fleet on his long-range scanners. Decision time. They'll intercept us in 2 hours if we continue on our current course. Beth made the choice for all of them. We finish what Master Holt started. Full speed to Heritage Point. The final chase began in earnest. The 3 human pilots pushed their alien vessels beyond normal operational limits, drawing on every trick Master Holt had built into the designs. The Silver Racer's experimental engines glowed white-hot as Beth coaxed impossible speed from the craft. Rick activated cloaking systems that bent space around the exploration vessel, making it nearly invisible to pursuit scanners. Carlos used the transport's micro-wormhole generators not for jumping, but for creating spatial distortions that confused enemy targeting systems. Contact ahead, Rick reported as they approached the rendezvous coordinates. Massive structure, artificial construction. Heritage Point materialized on their screens like a dream made real. The station stretched for kilometers in every direction, its hull covered with docking bays designed for every type of spacecraft imaginable. Ancient vessels from extinct civilizations sat alongside modern designs, all perfectly preserved in the station's protective embrace. By all the stars, Beth whispered. He really did it. Master Holt saved them all. Carlos detected the interface signals immediately. The station is requesting access codes from all 3 ships. We need to transmit simultaneously. Behind them, the combined pursuit fleet dropped out of hyperspace like an avalanche of metal and fury. Commander Brass's voice boomed across all communication channels. Surrender immediately or face destruction. This is your final warning. Rick activated his ship's access codes. Heritage Point, this is the exploration vessel Seeker requesting sanctuary protocols. Beth followed suit. This is the racing ship Quicksilver. Access codes transmitting now. Carlos completed the sequence. Transport Waymaker requesting defensive activation. Heritage Point responded with a deep harmonic tone that resonated through space itself. Ancient systems came online for the first time in decades. Defense screens shimmered to life around the massive station. Weapon arrays that had waited in darkness for 20 years began tracking the approaching fleet. Guide's voice echoed from Heritage Point's communication systems. Welcome to Master Holt's legacy. All spacecraft knowledge contained within these databases is now freely available to any species seeking to explore, defend, or preserve life in the galaxy. The pursuing fleet commanders found themselves facing a choice they had not expected. Heritage Point's defenses were clearly capable of destroying their combined forces, but the station made no aggressive moves. It simply waited, broadcasting Master Holt's complete archives to every receiver in range. Inspector Walsh was the first to stand down. Colonial Authority forces withdraw to minimum safe distance. We came to investigate, not to start a war over information that's now public anyway. Collector Stone was less gracious. Guild forces attack Pattern 7. We cannot allow these archives to remain accessible. Commander Brass had his own agenda. Hegemony vessels target the station's communication arrays. If we cannot control the information, we will prevent its distribution. The Battle of Heritage Point lasted less than an hour, but its effects would reshape galactic civilization. The ancient station's defenses proved that Master Holt had learned from every military design he had ever studied. Collector Guild ships found their weapons reflected by energy shields adapted from Valorian technology. Hegemony battlecruisers discovered that their hulls could not withstand mining lasers, repurposed from industrial spacecraft Master Holt had restored. Rick, Beth, and Carlos found themselves coordinating the defense from within Heritage Point's command center. Their 3 ships now integrated into the station's systems. The interface responded to human intuition in ways that amazed them. "It's like the entire station was designed for human operation," Beth said as she coordinated defensive maneuvers that would have been impossible for a single pilot. Carlos laughed as he activated shield generators using techniques he had learned from fixing broken hover cars. Master Holt spent 30 years studying how humans solve problems. He built all of this to work with our strengths. The revelation came when Nina's transmission reached them from New Denver Colony. "Rick, I've cracked Master Holt's personal files. He wasn't just preserving spacecraft designs. He was preparing humanity to become the galaxy's peacekeepers." Rick understood as the implications hit him. The tests, the challenges, the collection, Heritage Point itself. He was training us. Guide's holographic form appeared in the command center, but now it showed Master Holt's actual appearance rather than a simple interface projection. "My friends," Master Holt's recorded image said, "if you are hearing this message, then you have proven that humanity possesses the wisdom to use power responsibly. The galaxy needs guardians who will preserve knowledge, protect the innocent, and ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated." Carlos looked around Heritage Point's vast command center with its displays showing peaceful space lanes and prospering colonies. "He's asking us to become something bigger than mechanics." Beth nodded toward the defeated fleet elements now requesting permission to dock and study the archives. "The question is, are we ready for that kind of responsibility?" Rick smiled as he watched former enemies working together to understand Master Holt's preserved knowledge. "I think we just proved that we are." 1 year after the Battle of Heritage Point, Rick stood in the observation deck of what had once been Master Holt's workshop, and was now the headquarters of the Galactic Preservation Foundation. Through the reinforced windows he watched a steady stream of ships arriving at New Denver Colony from across the known galaxy. Nina joined him, carrying a data pad filled with the day's reports. 3 more extinct civilizations have been identified from the archive data. The archaeological teams are practically fighting each other for access to the technical specifications. "Any problems with the new arrivals?" Rick asked. "Nothing we can't handle. The Valorian refugees are settling in well. They're amazed that humans preserved their military designs better than they did, and the Asterian delegation wants to establish a permanent cultural exchange program." Beth's voice crackled through the communication system from Heritage Point, where she now served as chief coordinator. "Rick, we've got visitors requesting sanctuary. It's a group of scientists from the Hegemony Syndicate territory. They want to defect and bring research data with them." Rick smiled. The Hegemony Syndicate had fallen apart 6 months after Heritage Point's archives became public. Turns out that criminal organizations depend on controlling information, and Master Holt had made that impossible. "Send them through the standard processing. Carlos can handle the technical evaluation of their research." Carlos had turned out to be a natural at understanding alien technology. He now ran Heritage Point's Research and Development Division, where teams of mixed-species engineers worked on projects that combined the best ideas from dozens of different civilizations. The Foundation had grown far beyond what any of them had imagined. What started as 4 mechanics trying to run a repair shop had become a galactic institution that mediated disputes, preserved endangered knowledge, and provided technical assistance to developing civilizations. Inspector Walsh, who had become their primary liaison with the colonial authority, arrived with her daily briefing. The Senate voted unanimously to grant Heritage Point independent territory status. "You're officially a sovereign entity now." Rick shook his head in amazement. "A year ago I was worried about making rent. Now I'm apparently the head of state for a space station." "Don't let it go to your head," Nina teased. "You still have to take your turn cleaning the workshop floors." That was one tradition they had maintained. No matter how important their work became, all 4 of them spent time each week doing basic mechanical maintenance. It kept them grounded and reminded them of where they came from. Carlos's voice joined the conversation from Heritage Point. "Rick, you need to see what we found in Master Holt's personal workshop, the one he kept hidden even from Guide." An hour later, Rick stood in a chamber that made even Heritage Point's archives look small. Rows upon rows of crystalline storage devices stretched into the distance, each one containing complete technical specifications for spacecraft designs that had never been built. These aren't preserved historical designs, Carlos explained excitedly. These are Master Holt's original creations, ships that combine technologies from every civilization he studied. Beth accessed one of the storage crystals and projected its contents. The design that appeared was unlike anything they had seen before. It incorporated Valorian armor, Asterian speed technology, human adaptability systems, and at least a dozen other features from species Rick didn't recognize. He was designing ships for the future, Beth realized. Vessels that could serve as ambassadors, peacekeepers, and explorers for a unified galactic community. Nina studied the specifications more carefully. Look at the crew requirements. These ships are designed for mixed species crews. Each position requires different types of thinking and problem-solving abilities. Guide materialized beside them, but now the AI's projection showed a representation that combined features from many different species. Master Holt's final project was designing vessels that would encourage cooperation between different civilizations. He called them Unity ships. Rick examined the crew station layouts and felt a familiar thrill of understanding. He designed them so that no single species could operate them alone. You need the tactical thinking of humans, the precision of Valorians, the intuition of Asterians, and the patience of others working together. Carlos was already pulling up construction specifications. We could build these. Heritage Point has all the necessary manufacturing capabilities. The question is, should we? Beth asked. Master Holt kept these designs secret for a reason. Nina accessed Master Holt's personal logs and found the answer. In his own voice, the master craftsman explained his reasoning. The Unity ships represent my greatest hope and my greatest fear. They could bring the galaxy together in unprecedented cooperation, or they could become the ultimate weapons if they fell into the wrong hands. I leave this choice to my successors, trusting that they will know when the galaxy is ready for such vessels. Rick looked around at his three partners, then at the thousands of people from dozens of species who had come to Heritage Point, seeking knowledge and cooperation rather than conquest. I think the galaxy is telling us it's ready, he said. 6 months later, the first Unity ship launched from Heritage Point's construction bays. The vessel carried a crew of 12 individuals from 8 different species, commanded jointly by a human captain and a Valorian tactical officer. Rick watched the launch from Heritage Point's command center, where he now spent most of his time coordinating the Foundation's expanding activities. The Unity ship was beautiful, its hull reflecting the aesthetic preferences of multiple civilizations while maintaining perfect structural integrity. Where are they heading for their maiden voyage? Nina asked. Carlos checked the mission parameters. The frontier territories. There are reports of unknown raiders attacking peaceful settlements. The Unity ship will investigate and provide assistance. Beth smiled as she tracked the vessel's departure. Master Holt would be proud. His old workshop is now building ships that explore the unknown and protect the innocent. Nina pulled up status reports from across the galaxy. Speaking of protection, the crime rates in sectors with Heritage Point research stations have dropped by 60%. Turns out that when everyone has access to advanced technology, criminal organizations lose their advantages. Rick nodded toward a display showing construction progress on 12 more Unity ships. Each one would be slightly different, incorporating new ideas and improvements suggested by their mixed-species crews. What do you think Master Holt's real plan was? Rick asked Guide. The AI's projection smiled with an expression that somehow combined the emotional ranges of multiple species. I believe Master Holt understood that the galaxy's greatest resource was not any particular technology, but the diversity of thinking that different species bring to problems. His plan was to create a framework where that diversity could flourish. Carlos joined them from the workshop levels below, his coveralls stained with the familiar mixture of human grease and alien lubricants. The new apprentices are ready for their first advanced project. We've got young mechanics from 6 species working together to restore a cargo hauler from the archives. Any problems with the mixed species teams? Beth asked. The opposite. They're coming up with solutions none of us would have thought of alone. The human apprentice suggests unconventional approaches. The Valorian apprentice ensures precision, and the Asterian apprentice adds artistic improvements that somehow make everything work better. Rick felt a deep satisfaction, As he watched the daily operations of what had become the galaxy's most important institution, they had started as 4 mechanics who wanted to run their own repair shop. Now they oversaw a network of research stations, construction facilities, and diplomatic outposts that touched every inhabited system. Master Holt chose well, Nina said, echoing his thoughts. No, Rick replied, looking out at the Unity ship disappearing into hyperspace on its mission of exploration and protection. He didn't choose us. He prepared us to choose ourselves. Through the observation windows, they could see the next generation of apprentice mechanics, working alongside experienced craftsmen from a dozen different worlds, human creativity combined with alien precision, guided by the shared goal of preserving knowledge and protecting life throughout the galaxy. The 4 mechanics from New Denver had become something they never expected, the guardians of galactic civilization. And they had done it by remaining exactly what they had always been, people who believed that anything could be fixed if you had the right tools, enough patience, and friends willing to help you solve the problem.